Hello, welcome to Halo Love and Country. I'm Richard Gayton, psychologist, filmmaker, writer, and I'm here with Mitch McDonald. Mitch is in the educational field and in producing, and we shall be welcoming in a few minutes Amir Yass, and he is an LGBTQ activist, comedian also. In the meantime, let us return to our favorite subject, the risk today, this week in August of 2026, of speaking out, whether you're in the LGBTQ community or you're an activist, or you're a student going to school, or you're a mother at home taking care of children, or a woman taking care of our nation by doing whatever you're doing. We welcome you all here. But what is the risk for all of us these days? We have an administration in Washington that is suppressing free speech, that appears to be violating the law repeatedly without concern for the consequences. There have been hundreds and hundreds of lawsuits now against this administration, trying to deal with the lawlessness. And so far, because we're small potatoes here at Halo Love and Country, it has not been directed at us, although it might increase our viewership if it was directed at us. But what are the risks in your life? And Mitch, I hope you'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about it when we speak out. And this can be interpersonal risk. I have a friend who's a very solid fan of MAGA and Trump. And I've noticed that when we talk about politics in any way, it causes tremendous amount of tension between us. And that he seems to see that world, the world of international relations, for instance, with Iran. Our guest has some family in Iran and some cultural connection to Iran. But if I discuss that with my Trump friend, I just get a kind of for me, it appears to be a complete denial of the facts. When I try to say what the facts are, he doesn't agree with them and suggests that the reason that I have different facts than he does is because I watch MSNBC. I wonder if any of you have MAGA friends or friends that are very ardent Trump supporters, and how we were trying to compare our facts. And he was very dismissive of my facts because I'm supposedly watching liberal media. And I guess mainly what I'm reading is the New York Times, the Washington Post, and Politico, and The Hill, but I don't really watch commentators that much. But I know he watches Fox News, so we have alternative facts going on. And my belief is that facts are not equal, and they turn, when they're coming from a particular bias, there's the tendency to completely distort the facts, and then you have this alternative, these alternative narratives that are almost conspiracy theories. This can be done on the left too, but I see it primarily on the right, and that's caused tremendous tension between him and I. And we really don't have much to talk about now because he takes it so personally. My approach is, well, I've said some pretty alienating things. Now, I have another friend, a female friend, who's a very devout Catholic and a Trump supporter. So what I said to her, she was promoting the whole idea that we have you heard this one, Mitch? We have litter boxes in our elementary schools now for furries. Have you heard this one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Th- this was a conspiracy theory started on by someone and advertised on promoted on Fox News. I mean, she truly believed that, and if you look that up on the internet, that's just purely you look all around. There's just no evidence of that other than somebody said it, and that becomes the fact basis for if somebody says it on Fox News, it becomes a fact. So I said to her, "Well, this Trump's kind of a criminal kind of guy. He does repeated, but he's sort of into what criminals do, which is
Sort of a
rape,
criminal.
stealing. Uh,
Only a
what
little
else do they
stealing.
do?
It's just billions of
They
dollars. It's a little.
he likes steal. He's into snake oil schemes, which are kind of a form of theft from people. And so I started to say these things, and of course, she well, she got out of the pool. We were in this exercise, as she said, and I think she was kind of laughing as she said it. She said, "I shouldn't talk to people that I disagree with." And I thought, well, that's okay. So it's like one of the risks of speaking out, and it is important to really stay close to the facts, to stay close to what is really going on, and not to go into your own conspiracy theory of what could happen. Like I have tremendous fears of what Trump's going to do next, which most of them have not been, have not happened. Even worse stuff has happened, but not what I thought was going to happen. Um, we need to stay near the facts. But for me, it does alienate people in relationships. If I discuss current politics with someone who has kind of has particularly the populist MAGA conspiracy theory, Fox News kind of approach to facts. So that's what I found. Now we're going to a third friend who I think is kind of willing to look at both sides, but also gets influenced by the MAGA point of view, I think. But he honestly seems that he's one person who I can talk about it with, and he's able to to talk. Maybe we'll have him on sometime. I don't know. He might be willing to come on. But he's a reasonable guy. He's trying to understand what's real and what's not. He's in business for himself. So the business climate in California means a great deal to him, and I think that would, you know, push him more towards a Republican businessman's point of view. But the the old business Republican that I used to know, the guys that were very much into trying to not increase the deficit and be responsible with spending and all that. Those folks, I don't know where they went, but they're gone. They don't, I don't see them anymore. But
Well,
so I've got,
they got in the line for the profits. They they still don't want to increase the deficit, but they do want to increase their profits, which that's where we get into the situations we're in now, where they have to shave the money out of every government program that isn't immediately profiting them.
and then borrow the money to pay for it. It's very interesting. Like Democrats like to borrow money too, but the Republicans are really into borrowing money on the national credit card. So we have, hey, yeah, yeah. So I don't know, how does it work with you in friendships, Mitch? Are you able to, do you have any mega folks in your sphere of influence or family, or
Well,
how
lots and
does it,
lots of them. This is
lots
Arkansas.
and lots?
Lots and
Okay.
lots. It's an oddity here that our art community is probably 40-50% conservative.
Hmm.
And of that, I'd say have. At least half of those are Trump supporters. Uh, and you end up getting into discussions about what that means for them. And, they post things that are demonstrably untrue, but it's emotionally true for them. It's just not factually
Yes.
true.
Yes.
That never ending fear that, the country is going to be taken over by people coming across the border. And and it's all anecdotal stuff. It's always, oh, there was a rape by an illegal, there was a murder by an illegal, there was this illegal stole a car and crashed it. And the one thing they don't want to hear is, even our federal government says the statistics are that a little over 50% of our crime is white males. You could fix a whole lot of problems if you got rid of white males. And the immigrant side of that line is about 10%. About 10% of them are up to no good in a way that we could consider to be actionable. I'm not talking about, they got caught speeding, got caught driving without a license. Um, uh, they were fined at some point, in the last 10 years for not keeping up their paperwork, but for the most part, they're going to their court dates and doing what they're supposed to do. That's, they don't want to hear that stuff. Everything that any immigrant has done wrong at any point, they are happy believing that makes them deportable.
This has been my 3 or 4 months, 6 months probably, for reading history and reading. And it's like, that's been the nature of our country always, is like, from, despite being a nation of immigrants, people that either came, other than the American Indians, Native American folks, who we've just about wiped out. We're a nation of people who have come here, either come here voluntarily looking for freedom of religion or business, um, trying to improve our financial situation and get out of poverty, or we've been dragged here on slave ships. It's like, we've all come here, and ever since then, we have been, isn't that funny how humans are? That we have been so suspicious of immigrants. And while on one hand, we're so suspicious of them, and we have all this fear of them, and while we're openly welcoming them, while we have the Statue of Liberty, we're known across the world for actively encouraging immigration, and in a very objective, getting back to factual stuff, one of the reasons we're so wealthy is because of immigration.
Well, yeah, but those are decisions made by foolish people 100 years ago. The Statue of Liberty, I'm not sure if that was Rubio or Vance that said, we want immigrants, but we want the right immigrants. Uh, that's not the exact quote, because if memory serves, it was actually quite a bit more demeaning and ugly than that. But and it might have been a senator as opposed to one of those two. No,
Well, it, as long as they're dark skinned, and they'll work, and they'll not require wages. I mean, what could be a more energy efficient and financially efficient way to do labor other than have slavery? That works. And if we can't get people to build the railroad, bring in the Chinese folks. We can't get people to pick the lettuce in the Central Valley of California. Bring in Mexican people, Guatemalan people. They'll work for 1/3 the wages.
mm,
I mean, if we could get away with not paying them at all, that would be better. But that is the nature. And I don't want to. I'm not saying all Americans are that way, but that is the nature of capitalism in America. That there is that quality of that it thrives. Business does thrive on cheap labor.
Right.
free
No, and that's what
labor.
I said. Those Republicans went away. A lot. The Republicans that were all about, a fair day's wage for a fair day's work. That went away in the '80s. That went away with Reagan. We haven't been there in a good long.
Where are we now? What are we going to, what do we do? We
No, you
have,
already said it. Where we are now is they need slaves. They need people who don't know their rights. They have the fewest number of rights possible. They don't know what they are. They don't know how to find out what they are, uh, and they work for next to nothing. Take your drugs, shut up, come back in time to do the work we need you to do. Do it as well as we need you to do it, which isn't very well because we've got that planned obsolescence in everything we make in this country now. So, we need you to make it well enough that it lasts to the end of the warranty period, which is getting smaller every year. On your product lasting 10 years. When I was a kid, it was 20 years. When I got to be an adult, it was 10 years. Now everything's like a 1 year warranty if you're lucky.
good
Yeah.
luck enforcing it. Yeah,
Hmm. Sorry, Amir is in the lobby waiting on us.
he is here.
Um,
Come into the house with us. You're here.
Hello.
Hello,
Thank
lovely
you
to
so much
have
for
you
joining
here.
us, sir.
Of course, sorry I'm late. I was a little delayed today, but I appreciate your patience.
We're glad you could come. And I want to, you've met Mitch, at least sort of,
Yes. Yes.
and you and I have
In the
talked many
basics.
times.
Yes, we have. I love your tie, Mitch. I love that.
Oh, it's one of the good ones.
Okay.
This one doesn't have any cartoon characters or
Oh, there you go.
food stains.
Okay. I
It's
love
good to wear
that.
clothes without food stains. We work on that.
Yes. We appreciate
Yes.
that. We appreciate
I
that.
wore white because I am a virgin prince. Just
And I'm
wanted
just
you
the
to know.
prince. Amir, just the prince. Mhm. Definitely
Well,
not a
let me introduce this man, and I hope I'm saying your last name right, Amir. It's Amir Yass, correct?
There you go. Like Yas Queen. Easy.
What do you know? Okay,
Easy
Amir
breezy.
is a digital creator. He's an LGBT activist, and he's all around social media. When I looked him up, he's been on Just Saying with Justin Martindale. That was a fun one to
Yep.
watch.
Thank
He
you.
has his own podcast.
I've kind of taken a little step back, but all the episodes are out there, so check it out. The
Cool.
Take On and then The Vault. So I have two podcasts. So all the episodes are
Vault.
out there. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And this man, this is a very serious man. I want you to know this. He's very serious. He's good at, and he's extremely funny too.
Thank you.
He's a very funny guy and a very loving guy. And we're so happy to have him here with us. And you do stand-up comedy.
I
Is
do.
that
Yes.
correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Is
That was my way of kind of figuring stuff out while on a stage. Not the best place to work your stuff out, but anyways, I did it. So
is there a place we can find you? Is there any place you're going to do this live where we can find you?
yeah, I do like shows every so often in LA and San Francisco, and I'm actually doing 2 shows in P-Town, near
Cool.
Boston. So that'll be exciting. They're definitely going to come to a city near you at some point.
Very, very nice. So we're honored to have you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
this whole series is about the risks of being LGBTQ in America and what everyone goes through who speaks out. And everyone has a different experience of it. We started long ago in the series of being LGBTQ in the military, but we kind of broadened that to what is it like to be an out person. And Amir, you're very out on the internet and social media. You're out in doing stand-up comedy. Could you say just a little bit about what it's like for you? What is it like for you to do that, to be that open with so many people all around you and all that?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, when it's good, it's great, right? Like, you have people messaging you, like, I feel more comfortable watching you online, and I've come out to my parents, and there's a lot of good stuff. So I want to kind of focus on the positive because I tend to focus a lot on the negative. But I really, I think the positive part is that. Obviously, the negatives are there's always going to be people that are going to be hateful, and people have threatened to, wanting to slit my throat, wanting to kill me, like, you should go kill yourself.
Really?
There's a lot of that. But the way I see that, it just kind of shows that that person's in pain themselves. They're just kind of projecting it onto me. This is also after 10 years of therapy that I was able to get to that point. It took me a while, but I finally got there. I grew up in a, conservative kind of Muslim family. And I think in a lot of Persian families, you're taught to like kind of, you don't really want to be heard. You're supposed to just kind of keep it to yourself. You don't want attention. You don't want notoriety. My dad always said the worst thing is to have someone know your name in the street. I wanted that. I strived for attention. I strived to be known. The more they told me to be quiet, the more I wanted to post, the more I wanted to do stand up, the more I wanted to be public. But it comes with a cost. Like, people aren't going to always be kind and always understand your intentions. But I always try my best to be true to myself. But it's not easy when kind of your family's just not on board. Like, we don't talk about any of my career stuff. They don't want to talk about my Instagram. I blocked my mom like years ago. She doesn't see any of my posts. But I live with them. So obviously we found like a way to coexist, but a big part of my life we don't discuss.
And that's the way you've survived. That's the way you've come to terms with it. And everybody
Absolutely.
that is LGBTQ has made their decision about how to be out, how to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Some people choose to not be public at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In our
Mm-hmm.
past broadcasts, we've had women who have been LGBTQ in the Navy,
Mm-hmm.
serving in combat and being abused. A lot has happened to our community, and so many people have paved the way for us. I wanted to ask you
Absolutely.
about, so you have the background and the current spirituality of being Muslim. What
Mm-hmm.
is that like for you? You're careful with your family. Are you able to speak out within the Muslim community at all? Or what is that like for you?
Really valid, great question. Thank you for asking that. I've actually never had someone ask me that, so I really appreciate that. I think the way to navigate that is to kind of also take it back a step. So obviously my parents left Iran and wanted me to have a better life in America, and I value that, and I think that immigrants made this country, and I think that, so for me, I'm always going to value that first and foremost. And my sexuality is always going to be secondary to my identity, which is being Persian and American. And so I think, again, your sexuality is super important. It's a big part of your identity. But I always tell people there's many ways to skin a cat. There's many ways to come out. There's many iterations. And to also think that you only come out once, I also think is naive, because I've had to come out so many different times, in so many different ways. I think for people, it was really hard for them to understand how I could be religious, especially a religion that doesn't accept people who are queer. But what I want people to understand is that this is not the religion, it's the people that are interpreting it, correct? Like, the God that I believe in made millions and millions of queer people for a reason. I do regular therapy. I do a healing with a religious leader regularly. And she always tells me, she's like, there is a reason you're gay. That is part of your path. That is part of your identity. That is part of what God wants for you. And I've had to really kind of reconcile where people said, if you're gay, you can't be religious. And I'm not very religious, but I fast for Ramadan. I go to the mosque every so often. And Ramadan's where you fast for the whole month. Like, I do partake in a lot of that stuff. And I'm very culturally Muslim. Am
Yes.
I the most religious person you're going to meet? Absolutely not. But, I always say, if there's turbulence on an airplane, I'm the first one to be Muslim. So, I'm like, God, don't make this plane fall out of the sky. So, I think that is very important. It's a big part of my identity. So, yeah, I think everyone has to kind of navigate it the way that is right for them. And I think, there are a lot of people that think I'm doing it the wrong way and that I'm giving, Muslims a bad name, or that I'm trying to convince people to be gay. I've never I just want to make that very clear. Never convince anybody to come out of the closet. I've never convinced anyone to be gay. Being gay is a harder life. It's an uphill battle. You have to continue, even when you are in a safe space, you have to continue thinking, am I safe? Am I okay? Am I going to be good? So I think when people say, why do you need pride? Well, people are still getting beat up in the street. People are still getting killed for their sexuality. So until that stops, then we need pride. Like, you know?
Yeah, well, and you sound like you're very busy taking care of yourself and and being loving and kind to other. I guess you just don't have a whole lot of time to recruit straight
No,
people, do you?
I don't. I don't. Oh God, I don't. I really don't. I'm like, listen, if you want to come to a community that's loving and you're going to dress better and you're going to smell better, sure, you can come to our side of the street. Otherwise, you can stay over there with your basketball shorts. I'm good.
There we go. Stick with your basketball shorts. Were you born in Iran or were you born here? You're born in Iran.
I was born
So
here. No, I was born here. So I was born
you're born
here.
here, but you
Yeah. But I moved there when I was 8 years old for 2 years. So I lived in the country. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, you weren't out and you da 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 da. But I think I got a unique experience because I got to be there without being a gay man. And I understand that the country is not very accepting of that. But what I think people need to understand is that you need to separate sexuality from what's happening in a country. If a country is at war and people are dying, I don't really care if they're homophobic. I don't think that matters. Like people, nobody should, even if you're homophobic, you don't deserve to die. Like, so I think it's like people are like, well, they're not like very open. So how can you defend Iran? How can you defend other
Mm-hmm.
countries that are homophobic? I don't really care about that. I think that's like secondary to me. To like humanity first, sexuality second for me. So I
Yes.
think I got lucky that I got to live there and I got to experience it. And of course, it's different than the US, right? There's military on the street, they have some strict rules, but Iran has like really become a lot less intense. It's become a lot more open. I know that if you compare it to the US, you're going to be disappointed. But I think that comparing any country to another one is a mistake anyway.
Hmm.
Well, well, you're my closest expert on Iran. Okay,
Thank you.
so and I'm absolutely sure that Donald Trump is listening today because he he he's very interested in our podcast here at Halo Love and
Oh yeah.
Country.
Oh yeah.
Um, what would you advise him to do about this little war he started? If Don was here,
Yeah.
uh,
Good old
um,
Don. Hmm.
what would you advise him to do?
I would advise him to do what I tell anyone is to mind your own business. If you've never been to that country, you don't know anything about it, mind your own business. I think we have so many bigger fish to fry. Nobody in this country has good healthcare. People are literally getting fired for giving free food to their students because their students are below the poverty line. And then we have the most billionaires in the world. I mean, Elon Musk just sent a 45-story building and just shot it into a rocket into the moon. God knows what the lasting impact of that is. Like I don't think people think about this stuff, and I know that Americans are overworked and underpaid, so they don't have the time to sit and think about this stuff. But I don't have the luxury. Like as a intersectional person, gay, Persian, Muslim, I have to think about these things because I want this country to be better. And when I comment on Instagram against ICE or anything that I believe is incorrectly operating in this country, the number one comment is always, then leave. I don't understand that perspective. Like, I'm an American, I speak better English, and I'm more educated than you are. So I don't know why you feel the need to tell me to leave. Like, I just, it's like so baffling to me that people think that's such a big diss. I want this country to be better. Why would I leave?
Getting an
Why would I
education
go?
was your first mistake. We don't do that here. You're just supposed to
Uh-huh.
know and hear what's
Mhm.
right and then
Mhm.
do it. The
Mhm.
education's
Right.
just getting in your way. Just getting in your way.
Right? That part. That is the part. So that's where I'm at with it. Hate drives a lot more than love does, and I hate to say that because I don't want to live in a world where that's true. But I saw this interview with a Trump supporter who took 5 buses to go to another county to vote for Trump. I don't think a Democrat would ever do that. And I just think that like when you're drawn with so much xenophobia, Islamophobia, homophobia, it really drives you to show up to these rallies and continue to bootlick and continue to be enamored by a man who does not care about you. That's who's leading you. Like, aren't you embarrassed that you're proud of that? Like, I don't know. I'm not saying that Obama was great. I'm not saying Biden was great. I'm not saying any president is perfect, but at least they pretend to have some formality and some humility. And at least, even if they're pretending to care, at least pretend to care. Like,
Right,
Yeah,
and that's the weird thing.
make
They
it
don't
till you
need him to
make it,
care.
baby.
Yeah, they don't need him to care. Especially around here. I'm in Arkansas, and they are so big on, I look after me. I take care of mine. I'm a hunt for my food. I'm gonna grow my food. I'm gonna fix my car. I don't need nothing from you.
mm-hmm,
They forget
mm-hmm.
that, the shitting yourself to death diarrhea problem from the cabbage they bought, that crosses all lines. The one week you didn't go hunting and you bought a steak that's got botulism in it, well, you would have been protected from that 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They don't need it.
Absolutely.
They don't need us.
Absolutely. It's like that in Orange County too sometimes. There's a lot of progressive stuff, and Orange County's become more purple, and it's like there's people I've
Yes.
seen protests against Elon Musk, I've seen protests against Trump, but I think there's still this like American plains, like Oregon Trail mentality of like, I'm only going to look out for myself. My sister, lives in Europe, and whenever I go to Europe, I'm always shocked at how much people take care of each other. Your neighbors know when you're out of town. People look out for each other. I'm not saying that doesn't exist in the US, but there's become this idea of like, as long as I can pay my bills, I don't really care. Like, I don't want to live in a world where I go outside and I see someone who's unhoused or someone who dies of an overdose, and I'm like, well, whatever, fentanyl, that's not my problem. I don't want to live in a world where people are just desensitized to that. I think that's really sad. I don't think that's a world that I think we should be proud of.
I want to go back
No,
to to, to the responsibility of a Persian Muslim man in this world in America. In America, which is not a Christian nation, which is a nation that embraces all religions.
Absolutely.
What is the responsibility in your religion to yourself and to your society?
I mean, that's a really valid question. I mean, what a lot of people don't realize is the only religion out of the three monotheistic religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity is the only religion that actually pushes recruitment, going out and missionary work and actually bringing people to the faith. Judaism is literally a closed door policy. I was talking to my Jewish friend about that. They're like, we don't want you, we're good. Like, don't come to our door. And Muslims are the same. We don't do recruitment. We don't do missionary work. We don't do any of that stuff. We don't do Qurans. We don't exchange a Quran for a meal. Christians do that. We'll give you a Bible and then you get a meal. Like, they do a lot of that stuff. And again, I have a lot of Christian friends. I grew up going to an
I want to
Episcopalian school. I have
complain.
no problem with Christianity. Yeah, so I, grew up going to Episcopalian, Christian school, and our priest, it was very open-minded. Our priest was pregnant, and there was very open-minded, but there was a lot of like missionary work and a lot of, recruiting and like trying to get people to Christianity. Judaism, Islam, they don't have that. I've seen a lot of like Christian nationalist TikToks and Instagram saying everyone's Muslim now with Mamdani and, Al Sayed in Michigan. And, JD Vance was like, oh, Al Sayed's going to be the next president. Yeah, he's an American citizen. He could very well be the next president. Also, when your children are half brown and you feel the need to talk crap about Muslims, it's very interesting to me. So I'm like, okay, but I think that there's fear that Islam's taking over the world is not the case, So I think that there's a lot of fear mongering that goes into it, and a lot of people are like, oh, they're out to get us. We're not. Like, the Muslims have been here from day one, and they will be here years after that, because that's called freedom of choice, which is this country was built on that. So I think I saw this video where this woman was talking about how there was a halal section at her supermarket and how Muslims are going to take over. No, that's just a dietary restriction, because you had no problem with kosher, so why do you have a problem with halal? So there's just a lot of fear mongering, and I think the less we understand about each other, the more nervous we get. So my responsibility as a Persian Muslim in America is to educate people and to not take things personal, right? Like, if someone sends me a message saying, I was so scared of Muslims and I thought they were out to get me, and until I came to your profile, I take that as a positive thing. I know it can be, okay, well, that's very like kind of a little backwards of you to think that way, but I appreciate that you don't think I'm scary and that you can listen. And I always say, like, if you can make people laugh, you can really educate them. So if I can make you laugh, and then I can also take that opportunity to say, hey, Muslims aren't that scary, Persians aren't that scary, and also gay people aren't that scary. No one's trying to take your husband. No one's trying to predatory. Like, these are like outdated tropes. And listen, just because you're part of a community doesn't mean everyone in that community is perfect. There are a lot of horrible gay men. There are a lot of horrible Muslims. There are a lot of horrible Persians. But I also feel like that's in every community.
There are no horrible white people. We are wonderful. We are perfect. Even if we don't have any fucking teeth.
Absolutely.
Who's
I said that.
But
Amir,
Mitch,
hold on.
are you scary? I don't know. You don't seem very scary to me.
Yeah, I'm absolutely terrifying every room I walk into. I am
I noticed
other
that.
level of terrifying to my Caucasian
Sure.
brethren and sistren. But
Yeah.
Amir, as
Yeah.
Richard
Thank
was,
you.
he was
Thank
asking
you,
a question
Amir.
about
Lovely.
Of course, of course.
you were Richard was just asking you the question about the proselytizing when I'm trying to have this discussion with people, and that is the idea that the Muslim faith does not necessarily recruit, but it enforces. If you're within a Muslim community, you're a secondary member until such time as you have accepted the faith. As Christians, you're removing everyone who is not Christian from your community. You are making them secondary. You're treating them as less than, and you're confused that any other religion might even vaguely do something the same, othering people who aren't quite fully in agreement. And so, if you wouldn't mind addressing, how much of that you've seen, how you feel like that works.
I want to just like clarify if I understand it correctly. So you're saying that if it's like a mainly Muslim community and the people that are non-Muslim are not feeling welcome until they're part of the faith, is that what people are saying?
That's the soft version of the argument that I have to have with people. It generally tends to be uglier than that. But you're
Okay.
here, and I feel like you can give a clearer answer than I give on that.
For sure. And this is not me being sassy or rude. I'm just saying to that person, like, have you ever gone to a Catholic church or a Christian church and walked in without knowing anyone? The looks you get, the comments you get. I mean, it's not the most welcoming place. I just want to make that very clear. And this is not a criticism on Christianity. It's just
It's the same point I make.
Yeah, and I think that the thing with Muslims is that a lot of times the Muslims in this country are not really Americanized. So they're coming from a different culture. So a lot of the cultural stuff is also bleeding into where, a lot of communities that are not like raised in America don't know all the customs and standards. So they might be from a totally different country. So the customs are different. They might not be as friendly. Americans are very like, hello, how are you? What's going on? And that's not always other people's culture. So it might come off that way. Also, Muslims sometimes don't have boundaries. They might tell you how to pray, what to do, where to go, how to do it. And I think sometimes that overstepping is very kind of in stark comparison to American culture that really is individual, not tribe mentality. You really do everything on your own. You're individuated. So I think that's where it's maybe getting misconstrued. But the number one thing for most Muslims is to be good to the community. And no matter, the imam of the mosque that my parents are a part of, like, goes out and does interfaith, goes to Washington, D.C., talks to other leaders. Like, we are a very welcoming group. It's just, you don't know how to pray in Arabic. You don't fast. So if you come into the mosque, it's like, it's so much easier to go to a Christian church and sing along in English. I mean, we're doing this in a different language. So you're already kind of not included. But also, if you've ever been to a temple, they're doing it in Hebrew. So how welcome are you in a temple? It's kind of like the same thing. It's just, I think it's so easy to demonize Muslims, and it's been happening since the early 90s. So it's a very easy thing to do, and especially after 9/11, it's just easier to be like, they are just that. But if you're, killing your brother-in-law and you're killing people actively like Saddam Hussein and then saying, oh, wait, I have to go pray. I'm doing an interview, but I have to break my interview because I'm going to go pray. I mean, this is not a good person. So forget about the Islamic thing. Focus on the fact that he's not a good person. So there's a lot of different parts of this question to answer it properly, is that there's so many different intersections to being Muslim and maybe not feeling welcome. And again, it's hard to answer this without knowing exactly what the complaint was. What did they say? Were they asked to leave the mosque? It's in a different language. You're praying in Arabic. But there are also a lot of people that convert to Islam that are formerly Christian, formerly Jewish, that
Mhm.
convert. And they do. So that does happen quite a bit. To those people, I say, if you didn't feel welcome, then maybe go to another mosque.
Same thing in churches. Same thing in
Yeah,
Christian churches. Same thing. I've been to a
totally.
lot of Buddhist temples in Thailand, and there there's a language and a cultural barrier, but if you relax and treat people with kindness, I've noticed people. I've traveled in Bangladesh. I was welcomed by
Hmm.
um, a Bangladeshi Muslim folks, and they were
Wow.
so. It's
Beautiful.
like, and it used to be us, my folks, the Irish people, were not welcome in
Hmm.
America. We
Yes,
were
they were not.
Catholic. The dominant sect in America was Protestant, and
Hmm.
pretty soon
Hmm.
we're very dominant. And it's a lot of the Irish people that are unaccepting of new immigrant people. It's just humans. It's not an Irish thing. It's not an Iranian thing.
Right. Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
not a black thing. It's that some people are accepting and some people are not. Some people are open to the rest of the world and some people are not. But it's like
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Americans live in an island here. We live in an island. And so we don't even know what goes on in other countries.
Hmm.
And then we start
Absolutely.
invading them and who knows what can happen. Maybe
Hmm.
Don wants to maybe we'd like him to mind his own business. Right? You were saying that. So maybe he could mind his own business. So what would that look like in American foreign policy right now in Iran? How could we mind our own business there?
Well, I think that when we start to think of war as a game, the entire humanity is like, we're done. And I think what's happening now is when you change the Secretary of defense being when someone comes at you and calling it the Department of War, that's a problem. Because now you're making war into a game and your people are betting on it as if it's like a football game. Like there was a lot of officials that were caught betting on the Iran war, knowing inside information on who was going to be bombed. That's really, really the end of society. I mean, that's the end of humanity. So I
It's
think
immoral,
people,
isn't it?
it's very
Yeah.
immoral. It's like a person who's been married 3 times, has cheated on every single wife and impregnated that other woman, has an alcohol problem, but is continuing to speak of Christian values as a joke. I mean, it's a joke. If I was Christian, I'd be offended that he's using my religion as a way to like make himself look better. So I think what Trump needs to do, and this is the problem, is like it's a game for him. He doesn't want to lose the game. So he's already lost the war. He's already given billions of dollars to Iran to rebuild. So you've already lost, my dude. Like you've already lost, but you don't want to admit it. And I think this is the problem. There should be a cutoff for presidents at 60 years old. It is a very high-powered, intense job. Nobody in their 80s should be doing this job. Like you can't even work at a company when you're his age, but you're running the country. I mean, that's just like a joke. I mean, so I think for him, he needs to mind his own business, but he's not going to do that because he gets off on the drama. He's an actor. I worked with actors. They love the drama, the reality TV actors. He loves attention. There was a time where New York and Donald Trump were hand in hand. Like he still lives in that world in his mind. I think the only thing that's going to make him stop is I really don't know what's going to make him stop. I really don't.
Well, what I'm hoping is here's my bias in all of this
Hmm.
is that there is a tipping point
Hmm.
within the country when enough people have had enough.
Yes.
When enough people speak out, which is what exactly you've done today, Amir, and
Thank
Mitch,
you.
what you're doing, what I'm doing,
Hmm.
is when enough people speak out, enough people take action around them,
Hmm.
enough people vote,
Hmm.
enough people show up at My
Absolutely.
King's demonstrations. That seems to
Hmm.
be my generation's thing is to go to My King's.
I love that.
But
I
I
went to
hope
New York and
everybody.
it was so inspiring. It was like hundreds of thousands of people walking in Times Square and, you know, and it was peaceful and it was beautiful and that's America. And if you have a problem with protesting, you know nothing about US history. The Boston Tea Party, not wanting to pay taxes. We literally, America is built on protest. We left the United Kingdom because we did not want to be oppressed. I see so many of these Fox News idiots going, oh, another protest. Oh my God, they ruined Walmart. You're so worried about Walmart who has insurance, but you're not worried about black and brown children being murdered in the street. I mean, it's just laughable to me. I mean, the fact of the matter is, when two white citizens were killed by ICE and nothing changed, the world, this is it. We're cooked. It's it. These are white individuals. So what's your excuse now? So I think it's really scary that it's like that's the end of a democracy is when they stop reporting the deaths. They've stopped reporting ICE deaths that are happening for medical reasons. That should be alarming to everyone. Social media, people are talking about it. I think things have changed. Without Trump, there would be no Mamdani. There would be no Al Sayed. These
So we
people
should be
rise
happy about that, technically.
exactly, because whenever things get super dire, I see these Republicans going, "How the heck did he get elected as mayor of New York?"
Mhm.
Because people want change. Like Americans live and breathe by wanting more from their lives. And if you want to remove every single immigrant, you're going to have a very boring, stale country. Go right ahead. Because you don't season your chicken anyway. So go ahead. Like, go ahead. Remove all the spice in the country. Then great. You're going to have a really boring ass country. That's great. Great.
Hey, look at our history.
Do
I
it.
mean, great points. And look at our history. Look who inspired us. Barack Obama,
Mitch liked the
a
seasoning.
man, a
I know
man
what you
born.
like. I know what
Oh my gosh! Look who inspired us. John Kennedy. So John
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
white guy,
Mm-hmm.
Irish Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the big drama was in 1960? He
Mm-hmm.
was a Catholic. That was the
Mm-hmm.
big drama. We
See?
can never
See?
elect a Catholic president. And then
Mm-hmm.
we can never elect a whatever. We can't elect a, well, we haven't elected a female yet. That's going to be the
Right.
real challenge to
Right.
get that to
Right.
happen. But now we seem to be able to elect a brown skin person.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Barack gets in, and now and we have these amazing new candidates. Momdami
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
won and is actually opening up a few grocery stores in New York
Mm-hmm.
that might help people who can't afford food to buy food.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know,
But
I
you know,
mean,
American politicians hate poor people. That is clear as day. Senators hate poor people. They hate anyone who struggles. It's crazy to me. I was listening to this woman's story. She literally got on food stamps. She's a white woman, got on food stamps, $800 a month, okay? She got her master's degree. She got herself out of an alcoholic home. She got herself out of it, and she figured her life out. Assistance is not forever. I don't know why American politicians and a lot of these Trumpers hate poor people. I don't understand. Why are you obsessed with billionaires and like, oh, Jeff Bezos and praying at the altar of Elon Musk? Those people do not care about you. They would rather you rot in hell. They don't want to pay taxes. They don't care. For me, it's always baffling when people are like, oh, why do they need school lunches? Because a lot of people can't afford to buy lunch for their children. Like, that's why they need school lunches during the summer. So I just think this trend of hating anyone who's struggling in America is just really, it's very sad to me. Very sad to me.
and it's all through our history too. What my reading has been lately about LBJ
Mm-hmm.
growing up with Frank and then Franklin Roosevelt. Finally, people rose up when Franklin Roosevelt came because it was
Mm-hmm.
poor people. Poor people during the Great Depression, 1930s, they had no jobs, they had no food, they had nothing. They were on the streets. And finally, and these were white people, black people, brown people, Chinese people, Asian people that were there. They rose up and they picked a president.
Mm-hmm.
And still, the Senate, in the first administration of FDR, many progressive things. We got Social Security, we got indigent medical care, we got disability insurance, workman's compensation, all the things that try to protect workers. Roosevelt got it through.
That's
And
great.
then his second administration, the Senate stopped it all. And that's,
Mm.
if you look at what goes on in politics in America now, the Senate is frequently the one that it stopped civil rights legislation. For decades, the South controlled the Senate and stopped civil rights. And now we've got a Supreme Court. Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Lovely
The
group of
other,
people, right?
yeah, and we got another group of folks that are stopping civil rights.
Right.
Don't care for poor people, not
No,
interested
they
in
do not.
helping.
They do not.
Income, any kind of income equality is communism. I mean, it's amazing.
They love
It's
that word communism and they don't even understand it. They just think Russia, they think, oh my God. It's like, no, it's called caring about your neighbor. What happened to love thy neighbor? I mean, if you're so religious, don't you know that? Like, it's one of the commandments. I'm Muslim and I know that. It's baffling to me that people continue to harp on, oh, well, this is America. You should rise by your own bootstraps. If you're not able to get a job and you're not able to take a proper shower and you're not able to afford clothes, how are you going to do an interview? There's this great organization in LA that does that, helps unhoused people get clothes, shower,
Hmm.
go to an interview. Do you think that if you show up smelling and wearing dirty clothes, you're going to get a job? Oh, they should work harder. Why is this person in the street? They should work harder. If you say that, you're either a sociopath and have no understanding of social issues, or you just really don't care about humanity. So, like, if I hear another person say they should work harder, it's like, that's not how things work. That's the whole point of like assistance. Like, it's supposed to help you when you need it, and then you don't need it forever. And of course, there are people that abuse the system, that have children to get. I understand. Okay, fine. But like, out of the thousands and thousands of people that help, those numbers are negligible, the people that abuse the system. So to me, that's worth it. Like, to the people that you help. So when I don't know if y'all watch the World Cup, but every single country out of the 32 countries all had universal health care except the United States. Are we not embarrassed
Hmm.
about that? We're not embarrassed that, like, we're the only country. We can say American dream, make America great again. I had a surgery that was 15 minutes and it was $35,000 for a 15-minute procedure. I mean, I have health
Whoa.
insurance, so it's 9 grand, but even 9 grand, it took me a while to pay off. So $35,000 for 2 surgeries, I'd have two, it was $70,000. That would ruin someone's entire life. That's it. You're wiped out. 70 grand. So everyone in America, even the people that are making legitimate salaries, are one medical emergency from really being, we're basically paycheck to paycheck. So I think that, like, that's very disheartening to me when people get upset when Manjani does free childcare or free buses, or like, oh, it's communism. Is it? I don't know.
No, it's not. An inflection point, I suspect, in American culture. It is so heartening for me to hear younger people speak out like you, Amir, and that is very, very, very encouraging.
I
And
hope so. Because
to
sometimes
see
I feel like
Mitch.
I'm just yelling in an echo chamber, right, Dick? And it's frustrating.
Well, there's some of that, but it's also we just keep yelling, we keep talking, we keep showing up, we keep doing what we need to do, and it's going to be that everybody showing up. It's going to be that old combination of people, that melting pot. We're always talking about this great melting pot that's supposed to make everybody wealthy in America. Everybody own a home and a car and a dog. You got to have a dog, by the way.
Gotta have a dog.
I do promote dogs. I'm very much into that. Um, that's supposed to happen. It it isn't happening now in America, but it will happen when this great melting pot comes together. But it seemed like big bad shit had to happen in the 1920s and 30s because there's a great sleeping bunch of folks in our country who are just trying, they show up every day to work.
Yes.
They try to
Yes.
take care of their children. They've got
Sure.
aging parents.
Mm-hmm.
They're sick themselves. They have disabilities. They're whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they're busy. They're busy doing their lives. But we've got to have everybody now start to show up. And I believe we're in a point where, as bad as our voting figures are, they are much better. There are more people voting now than they have ever voted in America in the past. A greater
Absolutely.
percentage of Americans are voting.
Mm-hmm.
And that
And
needs to
it's small
continue.
numbers, Dick. Like sometimes it's 20,000 votes that win someone, or 15,000.
I
So like when
know, it's
people say my
crazy.
vote doesn't matter, I'm like, on yes, presidential it might not matter, but like to the state level, which is what really the state and the city is what really affects you. It's not. I understand the president's important, but a lot of the day-to-day stuff that you deal with, it's really your representatives. It's your people don't realize that. Like those are more important. Like your mayor, like the person that's like making sure your trash is picked up. Like those people are more important than the presidential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your city council.
Yes. Gay mayor, but they have a gay mayor now.
Do they have
Did
a
you see
gay
that?
mayor? That's
Yeah, of
amazing.
Huntington Beach, and they're very triggered. The MAGA people are really triggered, but they voted for him.
I bet
So
they're extremely unhappy. It could affect the surfing in Huntington Beach. Have a gay mayor.
yeah, where do you think
Anything
the
could
earthquakes
happen.
come from? The earthquakes come from the gays, honey.
Yeah, the gays are noted for causing earthquakes only after what black folks cause.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They cause
That's
all the
tornadoes.
other
Black
shit.
folks cause tornadoes.
You caused time. Well, of
South
course.
covered in tornadoes.
I've
Okay,
known
well
that
there
for
you
a
go.
long time.
Well, there you
There
go.
we go.
It's all that music.
I won't even say what the Muslims cause. I won't even say what the Muslims cause. Like we don't. That's funny.
My belief is that we are all we are God's children. We came from the same source, whatever we call it, our higher power, the universal mind. My belief is we came from love, and eventually we can get back to that. We'll go back to that, and we can allow love in politics. That can happen. And when I saw the people, and this is stuck with me, when I saw all these white people in Minneapolis walking through the streets of Minneapolis and singing to their immigrant neighbors who were hiding in their houses
Yeah, that
from
was
ICE.
beautiful.
That made me cry, and that made me happy.
It's beautiful.
It was like, we reach out in love to each other. It's going to change everything, and I believe that's happening now.
I believe that. Yeah.
And you, Amir, you went to that rally in New York, and I've been to a lot of Orange County rallies, and there's a love there.
Yes.
We're not hating on anybody. We're just saying, hey, listen, we're all in this together. We can make something, we can create change. That's what this country is about. I think we've hit our wall, and I want to thank Amir for coming.
Thank you so
Bless
much. That was a wonderful
you.
conversation.
Thank you for Mitch for making this happen technically.
And again,
I wish
Amir, thank you
Riverside-
for being with us. It was a great interview. We haven't had a non-us voice in a little bit. Thank you so much.
I'm happy to be here. It was wonderful. It was a great conversation.
We want to thank our sponsor, Love and Country, which is a feature film available on Tubi. And check out the book by yours truly, Love and Country. It's a novel about two gay men who fall in love during the Vietnam War.
It's a
well put. This man was in it. He was the first sergeant here. Mitch was.
Yes, he was. Celebrity.
Yes, he was. He's a great actor. He's available for acting opportunities. So, chat him up and audition him.
Love that.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Take care.
guys. Bye-bye.